Water kefir is one of my favorite ways to take pre-made soda syrups like the ones that my family makes at Soda Farm and turn it into a probiotic soda. There's a lot of probiotic sodas out there right now, and quite frankly, my family doesn't like the taste of any of them. So we're gonna use real sugar, and I'm gonna show you what water kefir really is. So to start out, I have some completed water kefir. This takes about 24 to 48 hours on your counter. It really depends on the temperature in your house. And I do it in a half-gallon jug. This has been probably a little longer than it should have been. So that's okay. The longer it goes, the more sugar it eats down. So for folks who are really sensitive to sugar, if you let it go longer, it eats more sugar, but you've got to be really careful that you don't stress out your grains. So inside here, I have a couple extras that I'm going to replace. Ooh, this is really sort of falling apart and it's difficult to fish out. I may just have to strain this and get it. I have a prune that's in there. It doesn't want to come out. There we go. Let me get the prunes out first. Set this over here. All right. So I'm gonna get this strained out so you can see what the grains actually look like. These they're not milk kefir, they're actually a different grain, so you can't take milk kefir. If you've done that, and I should pull over to the side and say kefir, kefir, it really doesn't matter how you say it. Everybody says it different. I think the actual pronunciation is kefir, so you'll hear me say that. But these are not milk grains. Milk grains are very different. You cannot convert them over. You have to start with water kefir grains, and they're these cute little spongy little granules, and they're almost see-through. They're not like little chunks of cheese that you'll see with milk kefir. I believe they came originally from a cactus. Actually, they were isolated from that. So that's the straining part after we're done. Now we're gonna get started for another round, because you've got to take your grains and put them back into a jar and get going all over again. It keeps going, and they grow. So the more you do this, the more grains you'll have. You'll be able to share them with other people or make multiple jars at a time. I'm going to use a mixture of sugar that I have made up. I make this in bulk so that it's easy for me to get to. And this is a blend of, let's see, it's 1 cup of organic cane sugar and 1/2 cup of coconut sugar. And you can see it's got that brown color to it. I'm just gonna dump it in here. I have a quart of clean water. I don't want to use tap water if I'm in the city where it's got chlorine or fluorine. It has to be well filtered water, spring water. We just use filtered well water in ours, and that takes out any impurities that I want out of there. Remember, we're feeding an organism, so we need to take care of it just like we would our houseplants. We're not going to dump chlorinated water on our houseplants. We're not going to feed our water kefir up with bad water or bad sugar. So looks like I need to make more sugar now. So all I need to do is put it in here and stir this around and get it dissolved, get the sugar dissolved. And the next step is going to be to put a slice of lemon in. This is totally optional. You do not have to do any of these additions. This is enough without additions. But I'm using a little bit of lemon. You can use lime. I can get at Costco, my local Costco, I can get a big bag of organic limes pretty cheap, and so often I'll use limes, but I had this left over, so lemon is going in. It's just a slice of lemon, and that will prevent some bacterial overgrowth, a bacteria that we don't necessarily want. It'll make your water kefir kind of turn skunky. And then I'm also adding a prune. Now, it's awesome if you can get a prune You can do a dehydrated apricot or any of these stone fruits. It's great if you can get them organic, but if you can't, especially like I can get this at the grocery store. This is preservative free, you'll see on it. So you want it unsulfured. These dehydrated fruits that are chewy often have additives on them, and we don't want that in our water kefir because again, it's a living organism that is trying to expand and eat and live, and we don't want to kill it off with bad chemicals. So in that goes. Now I'm using this to stir. You can use just about anything, but the purists will argue that you don't want any metal near your kefir grains. And so for that reason, I use a plastic strainer. And this is actually a peanut butter spreader made by our friends over at Riverwood Trading Company. They're some friends of ours that hand carve all of their kitchen utensils and sell them. And so this is downed hardwood and beautifully hand carved. And I love using their stuff in my kitchen. And I'll add a link to their site as well so you can check out all the cool things that they do. So this is now all dissolved. It's in pretty good shape. You'll see that brown color. Don't be afraid to use real sugars in your kefir. There's like a myth that's out there, and I believed it for a long time that you only used refined sugars with these. And the truth is that all the extra minerals do it good. It doesn't kill your culture. So there's no reason not to use really high quality sugar, the same as you would put in your family's diet. Okay, so I've got my strained kefir, and these grains are gonna go back in here. Really, for this amount of sugar water, I would need like a 1/4 cup, and this is starting to expand. So probably in the next batch or two, maybe by next week, I will be pulling some of these off, and I may need to start another jar, or I'll put it in a little bit of water kefir that's finished in a jar that's got a lid on it in the refrigerator, and I'll just keep it until I get enough to start yet another jar. We go through a lot of water kefir in the house. Sometimes we just put lemon juice in it, and it's a fermented or probiotic lemonade. But I do love to put the syrups in. We wouldn't do it in here. This is called the first ferment. And so now I've got the grains in, I've got the sugar water, I've got my extras. The prune is going to add extra minerals and really increase that fermentation. And I'm going to put just a cloth towel over this, and I can put a rubber band around the top. The idea is we want to keep gnats out, and we want to let the ferment breathe. It needs oxygen. So we're not going to close this one up. We close it up when we do the secondary fermentation, which is where all of your syrup and flavors can happen. So now I have this, and actually I'm going to do a little bit of starter liquid in here if I can. Ooh, didn't make too much of a mess. All right, so that's ready to go. That's over there. I now have all of this finished water kefir. I can just put a lid on it and put it in the refrigerator, and we can use it as we like, but I like to do a secondary ferment. So that's what I've done here. You can do this with fresh fruit. You can do it with syrup that is already prepared. When we do, like this started out as a gallon or a half a gallon, and I did maybe 2 tablespoons of syrup in here. It's still got some sugar in it if you haven't over fermented your grains. And so it will keep eating some of the sugar will start to dissipate some more, and it will create bubbles, natural carbonation. If you add a little bit more sugar, it'll get even more bubbly. So I added fresh cherries and our Soda Farm's Better Pepper syrup to it. And then I set it out, you sit it out on the counter in the warmth of your kitchen. And again, depending on how warm it is in your house, will tell you how long this is gonna go. If it's cold in the winter, it's gonna take maybe 2 or 3 days. If it's really hot and you don't have air conditioning, you might even get this in a couple hours. So you've got to watch it, especially if you're doing glass, which I prefer to do glass. I do use a plastic lid on here. If things get too pressurized in here, it will sort of self-burp so that you don't have exploded glass. A lot of people prefer to do a metal ring lid on it so that they can really get the most out of the carbonation. But I often am away from my kitchen for basically maybe hours and hours at a time, especially if you're going to go away to work. You want to do this because if you put a metal ring on, it's going to really prevent any of these gases that are created from that fermentation happening. That's what's putting the bubbles in. Instead of a gas that's added, we're not pumping carbon dioxide into this liquid to make it a soda like you see in the store. We have probiotic activity that is going to be good for our gut, and by it eating down sugar, it creates the off-gassing and puts the carbon dioxide in, and that's what's going to give you a probiotic soda with real sugar, very low amounts of sugar, and there's no reason why you can't play with a pre-done syrup. So I'm going to hold this up so you can hear to my ear, see if I can get the sound. So satisfying. It's just like opening up a 2 liter of pop. That sound when we open that and it makes that sound, we know that we're going to have bubbles in a glass. It's nostalgic. Bubbles are actually they can be really good for us. There is an activity in that bubble that has an electrolyte function in our body. So it's not all bad when we're making a soda that's halfway decent, but this takes it to another level. A probiotic soda, and I can tell you this is absolutely delicious. The flavor combinations that you can come up with here are endless. Whatever fresh fruits you have and whatever syrups you can get your hands on. We use a lot of the Soda Farm syrups so that we are making things that are familiar, colas and Dr. Peppers and Mountain Dews and things like that, but with a probiotic angle on it that's fresh. And when you make probiotics at home, you are making probiotics with your family's bugs. You cannot get any closer or healthier to keep that gut biome happy than making your own ferments. I'm going to add a link to this so that you can, my favorite place to get water kefir grains and all the instructions to get started. And come back, I'm going to teach you how to do these secondary ferments and how to make some successful probiotic sodas at home with whatever flavor you want.